Okay, well, once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to some of you, and welcome to today's webinar on Unleashing the Power of SCOM. My name is Harold Dyke. I'm one of the founders of Silect. And today I'm joined by two of our senior most developers, Mike Sargent, who will be giving us a demonstration of MP Studio, and Daniel Desormo, who will be online answering any questions that you may have. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is really about getting more value from your SCOM infrastructure. As we all know, SCOM is a very powerful platform. It's great for collecting and analyzing data, providing health state information, but the real intelligence lives inside of management packs. I mean, MPs are essentially the brains of SCOM, if you will. MPs tell SCOM what to do. And so if you're not developing, deploying, and maintaining management packs in an efficient manner and in a proper way, and if you're not managing that life cycle of those management packs, you're not really taking full advantage of the SCOM platform. And so that's what today's webinar is really all about. It's describing and showing the various stages of the life cycle of a management pack, and showing you how MP Studio gives the ability to master each of these stages, allowing you to unleash the full potential of SCOM within your environment. So just by way of an agenda, I'm just going to briefly introduce you to Silect and the products and services that we offer. Most of our time today will be spent on a demonstration. And again, we do want to show you firsthand how our products can be used to manage that life cycle for your SCOM management packs. We really do encourage you to ask questions. So you will see in the GoToWebinar application window, you'll see a question section. Please ask any questions that you may have. And towards the end of today's session, we're going to try and leave some time for an open Q&A. And again, we'll be monitoring those questions as well throughout the session. Please complete the survey at the end of the webinar. That really helps us plan future events. And I will mention that this webinar is being recorded. So just briefly about Silect. Silect was founded in 2003. We've been delivering solutions to the System Center marketplace now for over 16 years. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. We're an Azure Management Elite partner. We're a Red Carpet Power BI partner. And really, we deliver solutions to the System Center marketplace to help organizations deploy and operate System Center. Our products include MP Studio, which we'll be focusing on today. We also have the free MP Author tool, which many of you probably are familiar with. We have MP Author Professional. We as well recently introduced a free Sentinel Security Pack, which runs as a management pack on top of SCOM. And we have a couple of products for the System Center Configuration Manager marketplace as well. In addition to the products, we offer a range of services, including custom development, assessment, migration for SCOM, for Azure, and for Azure Monitor. And so let's take a quick look at the solutions we have for SCOM and really sort of delineate between some of the features between the various products we have. MP Author, again, free, wizard-driven, provides a basic MP authoring experience. MP Author Professional builds on MP Author and enables some new scenarios, including building MPs for devices as well as for Linux systems. We introduce class authoring as well as the ability to author advanced targets monitors. And really, perhaps most importantly, is the ability to support fragments through MP Author Pro, which really expands the scenarios that you can use Pro to author management packs for your SCOM environment. MP Studio brings together everything that's available through MP Author and MP Author Pro, plus adds a number of other features and capabilities to enable you to manage that full life cycle, whether it's analyzing management packs, deploying them, testing, tuning them, override management, etc. MP Studio gives you an entire life cycle management tool for SCOM management packs, and we're going to be showing off a lot of these capabilities in the session today. As well, we're going to really be highlighting the new version 9.0, which we just announced at MP University, and highlighting some of the new features that we make are making available through the tool, including a new sync option when you back up management packs to allow you to better manage versions of your management packs. We've introduced a new change report to show you changes that are happening within your SCOM infrastructure. If you're running a large environment or have multiple management groups, we've added a number of improvements to help you better work within those types of environments. Some new metadata that we've added to the reports, we'll be showing you that. We have a new search capability, some UI improvements, and the Linux fragments. So we've introduced this new Linux authoring scenario to MP Studio, which is great and getting a lot of interest. That's perhaps the most requested feature we have. And in addition, we have a brand new HTML5 portal add-on, and I'll be showing you that in just a couple of minutes. And again, the services that we offer from Silac, whether there's custom development for SCOM Management Packs or for Azure, we provide that. Power BI dashboard development, Azure Monitor assessment and migration. We've helped organizations move their SCOM infrastructure into Azure and learned a lot of important lessons along the way. And as well, we provide training services. So I'm just kind of running through this real quick. I don't want to take up too much time. So now I would like to turn it over to Mike to show us the first part of our demonstration today on authoring management packs. Again, I will encourage you to use that questions option in the GoToWebinar menu, and towards the end of the session, we're going to try and do more of a live type of Q&A. So with that, Mike, I'm just going to hand over the presenter rights to you. There
and you should be seeing my screen now.
I can now see your screen. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This demonstration is going to be a little different than the one we did at MP University, if you happen to be on that one. We're going to deal a little bit more with the breadth of features that are available rather than the depth. So I'm going to go over a couple things very quickly. If things are confusing, don't hesitate to ask questions, but I want to show what we're capable of rather than the details of all the capabilities. Quickly, we want to just look at the overall layout of MP Studio here. Here on the left, we have a section called Management Packs, and there's two major sections in there. There's the store and management groups. Management groups is where you register your management servers. So this is a SCOM server, SCOM server in Azure that we have, and I can register that so I can work with it. And here's a list of all the management packs that are in that SCOM server. You can register multiple management groups there, and you can work with them very conveniently. The store is a database local to your organization. This is a shared database, usually on a centralized server that all users of MP Studio would share. And we'll be seeing that because I'll be creating a management pack on one machine that we're using here as one user, and then Harold will be able to continue using that same MP for other things. Within the store, we have a number of folders. You can create your own folders. So I can create a new project folder here if I wanted to. Excuse me. We have some magic folders like this backups folder, which is used for automatically storing backups from a management server. We have this sealed folder where sealed MPs are. And so within the Microsoft subfolder, you're going to see, of course, all the Microsoft stuff. And the important thing is that we have multiple versions here. So I think we got, well, there's a great example. It's just two versions, so it's not too overwhelming. We have a version 1.0.0 of an override management pack, and we have a 0.1 version as well. You can see the comment underneath there, tuning the MP. That was the changes that were made. You can see from the hover text there that 2 additions and 3 changes were made. And we can, of course, compare these things. We can look at what's different. We have an audit history report to show exactly what was changed there. And I'm not going to show this in any great detail, but the point of a history here is that we have a complete record of what was changed. We can see what has changed. We can go back to older versions if we need to. We can open any of these versions, compare them. We can deploy older versions if we need to. We can pull things out of older versions and copy them into newer versions, that sort of stuff. General source code control. In the center here, where information is showing, is the guts of where things happen. This is just, for information, it's just a display here of all the management packs that are on a management server. And this can be sorted by name, display name, version, whether it's sealed or not, the schema, which I think is 2.0 in all cases here. We'll see a lot more information there. We'll be coming back to that. And here on the right-hand side, we have actions. And this is the equivalent of the right mouse button click here. So if I click on the right mouse button, you'll see that we have audit history report, view schedule, and you'll note that those are basically, well, they should be exactly the same options that are here in the actions. So if you're not a right click person, you can use the actions over here. If you are a right click person, you can actually hide the actions pane if you want the additional real estate. So that's just a quick run through. We do have a toolbar up here. We've got a menu bar, and we'll see some of that. But the thing I want to do here is I want to create a new management pack. So within the folder, I'll just right click and create management pack. Now, as I said, I'm not going to go through all this in great detail. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to call this Select B9.demo. Apparently typing is going to be slow here today. Sorry about that. There's a backup program that has been running, and I paused it many minutes ago because it tends to hold up on slow up my typing, but I think it's still got some caching that it's doing, that it's writing out. We can select which version of references we want included, so Windows SNMP references or Linux references, and which version of SCOM. I'm just going to stick here with Windows for SCOM 1801 or 1807. We'll create an empty management pack, and we're just going to click Finish. Takes a couple seconds. It's going to create this new management pack, and you'll see it appear here in the list. Select B9 demo, and so far we have exactly one version. Within the management pack, and that's what's showing here now, we show all the components in a management pack which either exist or can be created. So for all of these things, and I'll just click one that's not obvious here, recoveries. We can create new command or new script recoveries. We won't be showing that too much. But let's go on. Let's do a quick discovery. Now I want to create a discovery. I'm going to actually be looking at the management server. That's where our portal is running. We allow browsing for almost everything because it's a better way to do it. It's accuracy here. As I said, I'm not going to explain things necessarily in great detail, but you can choose what to browse. You can choose what properties to create here. These are actually both integers because they're port numbers. We can't necessarily pull all that information out. We have our identification. This is the name of the class. You can, of course, change these. We have our target. This is a base, sorry. This is the base class of Windows local application. This is the identification, the name of the discovery that will be created, where we want to target. So we want to look on everything where Windows operating system is running. And I'm just going to change that to look for Windows Server operating system so that this discovery will only run on server OSs, Windows Server OSs. And we're going to check just for the existence of that path. Here's a summary of what will be done, and I'm just going to click Finish here. So now we have created here a class, and you can look at it with the XML. It's the two properties we created. And if you have never really looked at the XML before, don't worry about that. You don't need to in too many cases, because the big thing is that for stuff that was created within MP Studio or MP Author Pro or Author itself, you can edit with the wizard. This goes back and reloads the exact same information back into the wizard so that you can change things. So if, for instance, I'm just going to do a quick one here. I'm going to change the schedule here to hours. I want it to run every 12 hours. And that's that quickly. Now we, of course, could have made much more significant changes here, but I just want to show how we can do that sort of stuff. We can also do things like create knowledge for this. I'm not going to follow through with that because I want to show the breadth rather than the depth here. You can edit the XML if you want to. Again, if you haven't seen this XML, this can be a bit daunting. Where was that period here? Frequency 43,600, 43 to 100 is 12 hours. That's 12 hours in seconds there. We can change that if we wanted to. 86.4. We'll just save that. And when we do that, it should tell us over here that our frequency is now once a day. We can also change things here as well. You know, we could disable this simply by changing that. Again, I'm not going to get into great detail there, but I just wanted to point out the things we can do. Now, in terms of other discoveries, we can look at the registry on a system. We can run a script on that system, and that allows PowerShell scripts to be run, which gives you great power. You can discover almost anything with those. And we can also look at the WMI database, which is another great place where a lot of information is stored. We can create groups. So that uses the group populator and provides a great way of putting things in groups that can all be managed together. We can create a class that's derived from an existing class, and that lets you basically subclass things in a fairly efficient manner. And although we probably won't have time to demonstrate that in this, we can also create SNMP classes. So this would go to an SNMP device. That's your typical networking devices, routers, switches, that sort of thing. Get the information and create classes so that we can monitor those devices. Within classes, we have a very similar set of operations, but we can also create a class with no discovery here, and that's used for creating a health model. Let's look at some monitors here. Now, typically, the first thing we show is a service monitor, because it's a really great example. Again, we're going out to the domain controller. We're going to look at that service. Here's a list of all the services that are running here. I'm going to filter this list down to the Silex dashboard service. We're going to be looking at, we're targeting at the class we just created so that this monitor will only run where the dashboard is actually running. Identification, we don't need to change. Run as, we don't need to change. Health here, I'm actually going to change this just for the demo. I want to change this so that if it's running, it's a warning, and if it's not running, it's healthy. The reason for that is that Harold wants to generate an alert, and I just wanted to show, in this case, this would be the case where you want a service that should not be running in production. We'll just turn on alerting for that. It'll automatically resolve. We can put in a lot of information down here in the description. We can put in information from the target itself, from the data, from the, in this case, the service, you know, logical order groups and service start mode and that sort of information. We also can get the target, and this is the class that we discovered with our registry discovery. That's a local application, so it's hosted on a Windows computer. We can put in all the information about Windows computer here. Typically, of course, you're going to put in the principal name so people know what computer that is, which is this substitution right here, $target host property type, Windows computer principal name. We can even put in information about the management group if you need it. And click create. Here's our summary, and we finish it, and that quickly we have our monitor. We have many different types of monitors we can support here. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to quickly discuss them. We have a database monitor. What that does is allow you to go out and query a database. You can actually do queries on it. You can measure how much time it takes to do the query, how much time it takes to fetch, and determine whether things are healthy. So that this is a great way to check to see if your backend database is healthy. We can look at Windows events. This is going to take a second, so I'm not going to go through it, but basically this goes, sorry, what it takes is a second is, it actually takes about a minute to go out and read the events from the application event log on that machine because it's of course across the network. So it's a bit slow to start up and it'll slow down our demonstration. But what it does is allow us to go out and look for event log entries, choose which ones we want to alert on, which ones we want to use as a healthy state, so that if an event is logged when a service goes into, or a service or a program goes into an alert or warning state, you can actually raise an alert on that. If there's another event log that's event entry that is logged when something becomes healthy again, you can actually use that to close off the alert. we have performance monitors, and while those may take a little bit of time, actually that's pretty good. This looks at the perf counters on a system. And the one I want to look at here is from Node.js. We're going to look at HTTP client requests. We're going to sample every 5 minutes. We're going to create a rule to collect that information at the same time. We're targeting our class. This is performance. That's a good roll up here. There's our identification. Run as is almost never necessary for performance counters, but it's available if you need it. And here's the thresholds. Here's when we look at a performance counter, this is how we know when it's healthy or not. So in this case, I'm looking at, I want to create a 3-state monitor. Now, often this would be average, but let's just do a simple one here. So we're going to look at simple values here. So if the value is less than threshold 1, which has a value of 5, then it's healthy. If it's between 5 or greater and less than 10, it's a warning state. Something is getting busy, not a problem yet, but it could be. We have this threshold 2, and then we have a critical if it happens to be greater than or equal to 10. And that's explained down here. Oops, I want to highlight that. I didn't want to try to move it. That's this. So it's healthy if it's less than 5, it's warning if it's greater than or equal to 5 and less than 10, and critical if it's greater than 10. You can, of course, change all of these values. So we may actually have a wider range that we need here. And there are other options here. You can do a simple comparison. You can do averages. You can do consecutive samples. You can even do delta comparisons here if you need to. We can choose to generate an alert or not. You probably want one in most cases. And you're also usually going to want to have this automatically resolve the alert when the monitor returns to a healthy state checked. That just cuts down on the amount of alerts your operators need to deal with, because when things become healthy again, the alerts automatically resolve themselves. Our summary, click, and we're finished. Other monitors we can create, a script monitor. And this will run a PowerShell script, or VB script and JScript is supported as well. Those, of course, can do pretty much anything you need them to do. They'll return a property bag. You can choose what properties to look at in that property bag and how to evaluate them for health, etc. It's very powerful, but it's pretty much it's an advanced thing, but it's incredibly powerful. You can literally do just about anything there. We have a website monitor, which will go out and ping a website to make sure that it's responsive. So this is how you can keep an eye on a front end, to make sure that the front end is still responding to something. You may have a page that's specifically designed for pinging, or you might just ping an arbitrary page to make sure that your website is still serving things up. In terms of SNMP, we can do a 2-state 2 probe monitor or a 2-state 2 trap monitor. The difference there is with a probe, SCOM actively asks the device for its current state. With a trap, the device informs SCOM about its current state, and that typically that'd be a state change. We can also create dependency rollup monitors and aggregate rollup monitors. Dependency rollup monitors are typically used for rolling up components to a larger application. So if you have back-end monitoring and front-end monitoring, you can use those to roll up to the health of an application in general. Aggregate rollup monitors lets you take a couple of unit monitors. For instance, you may be monitoring several performance characteristics, and you can use an aggregate rollup monitor to say, I don't care which of those performance characteristics is in an alert state, that's what we want to roll up, so that if any of them are an alert, we'll get an alert. Corresponding to that, we have rules. And then when we created the performance collection, we also asked to create a rule. Well, here's our rule that will periodically go out and look at for the events from, the performance counters from Node.js, HTTPS client requests, and it will log that information for you. But you can create your own. So we can look at Windows events, and we can also generate alerts on those. You would typically want to use monitors to generate alerts if you can, because monitors have state, so they can automatically close an alert. Events created from, alerts created from events, they can be raised, but they can't be automatically closed. You can create a performance rule, which is what we have here. You can also have a script performance rule, where you run a script to produce the performance values that you want to log. And that allows you to do just about anything, but one of the things you can do in there, of course, is you can do arithmetic. So if the raw information you're collecting is not what you want to see, you can transform it. If you're looking at an SNMP device, you can do a probe, which is where SCOM goes out and asks the device for current capabilities and generates an event or performance. And it can also do traps, so that when when the device informs SCOM about a change in state, you can log an event, and you can also look at that data and generate an alert if you want to. We have a lot of other capabilities that we can do here. And as I said, I want to go through and talk sort of about the breadth of what we're doing here, the things that you can do to make your SCOM environment work better. Those are the big guys, but let's talk about some of these other things. Diagnostics. You can create a diagnostic. Now, when a monitor, or I think it's when a monitor only goes into an unhealthy state, you can specify that a diagnostic is to be run to produce additional information here. So, for instance, if you had an SNMP device that went unhealthy, you might want to run a ping command to make sure that the networking was successful, that you could actually talk to the device. That's just an extremely simple example, but it's the sort of thing that could be useful. And that diagnostic will run automatically, and when the alert comes up, you'll be able to see those results. So the person who's responsible for handling that alert has some additional information. The flip side of that is recoveries. A recovery looks very similar. You have command or script recoveries. When a monitor goes into an alert state, it can automatically run a recovery. So for instance, if a service goes into an unhealthy state, you can run a command or a script to restart that service automatically to see if that will take care of the problem. We talked about discoveries. We talked about all the things you can do there. You can create a folder where you can put additional views. We'll talk about that a little bit later. You can have multiple management packs for localization if you need them. I think we went over monitors fairly well. Overrides is a whole separate topic, but just let it be said at this point that for all of these sorts of things that we create, and I'll just quickly bring one up here, you can change a lot of these operational parameters. Now I have to save this first before I can do the overrides. What this does, it looks at this monitor and it looks at a number of properties which are considered overridable parameters, and that's this list here, parameter name. These are all things that can be changed. So for instance, that threshold that we created of 3, if that's too low, we can change that and give that a threshold of 5. And I can put a reason in here, and I can say work order 2019-6-11, threshold too low. I don't know if you're going to bother completing that. This tells me what it is we're going to save, and we're going to create that override, save that out, we'll create a new version. And now when this monitor runs, it won't use the value that we initially specified, it'll use this override value that we just put in. And the advantage of that is that we can actually specify different overrides for different systems so that we get exactly the sort of monitoring we want. So that's overrides in a nutshell. We talked about recoveries. Referencing overrides just tells us who is referencing things. Relationships is similar to classes, that it helps you build a health model. Dependency rollups use relationships to determine what to roll up, but you can have other relationships like a hosting relationship. A Windows local application like the one we just created is actually hosted by a Windows computer, but you can create other hosting relationships if you need to. Rules we talked about. Secure references allows you to specify basically credentials that are used when you're monitoring or running particular workflows. We won't look at that in too great detail. Stringers are so typically automatically generated for alert messages here. Tasks are similar to recoveries and diagnostics, but they're not run automatically. So you can create a command or a script task that can be run. And from within the console, when you've selected an item where a task is available, the tasks are listed in the console so that you know which ones are available to run. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is views here. So we had a performance rule that collected this information here. So we can create a view for that. And I'm actually going to select that rule. We don't need to select anything else. Honestly, I'm just going to let it default to everything else. What this does is now is we have a view that will show up. I'm not sure if I got it in the right folder here, but we'll check. We could check on that, or we could even change that later. Actually, I didn't create a folder, so it won't be in that folder. But it will show you a graph of performance information. So we have alert views, we have event views, we have performance views, and state views, and we have a dashboard view where you can put multiple views together on one page, and that's a fairly flexible thing as well. So that's a pretty quick, high-level description of some of the things that you can do here, and all of these provide great value to people. The other thing I wanted to touch on here was fragments. This we could spend a couple of days on, honestly. We have fragments. A fragment is just a chunk of the same sort of XML that goes into a management pack. And so we looked and we saw earlier, we saw the registry, we didn't look at a monitor, but the monitors look similar to this sort of thing. But these have parameters in them so that we can specify a company name here. So I could just change that to demo.v9 here for a company ID, et cetera, and it'll change. And when we import this value, and I put a script argument here of space because otherwise this just won't work. I'm not going to complete this because this is a Linux fragment here, but let me just choose one of the others here. We can search for things here based on their type. We can go for service here, and I did not type it right. So here's a list of monitors that, fragments that will create monitors which have something to do with service. So here's a service with recovery, for instance. This is one created by Kevin Holman. We have our name, we have our app name here, we can specify a service name, and again, we can browse these sorts of things, so we can choose to use bits if we want to. I'm not going to complete these, but the point of fragments is it's a very quick way to do things. If you want to do multiple things, fragments are a great way to do it. You can just import the same sort of fragment but change the parameter values. So if you needed to monitor a dozen different processes, you could create a fragment for that. When you've input the data for one, the next time you import it, you simply change to a slightly different value here. So let's say I want to check the Bluetooth service here and click import, and it would create a new monitor for us that quickly. And this can also be done from PowerShell. So what this does is it creates for you a very fast and consistent way to create rules monitors, virtually anything within the management pack, in a very defined and reproducible and very consistent manner. So a couple things we can do now. We can verify our management pack here. This runs, I like to refer to it as a syntax check. It just tells us that the management pack is legal. Now, it always gives this warning about unsealed management packs should not contain type definitions. We have a class in this. It's sort of an annoying warning because when we seal it, this warning goes away. Syllabi. We can also check to make sure that we have display names defined for everything so that localization and display in general on the SCOM console looks better. One of the final things we can do here is we'll run the best practices analyzer. This goes out and looks deeply into your management pack. And this would complain, for instance, if you had a discovery that was running too frequently, it will warn you about that. You may need it to run frequently, but this gives you a great great look in the depth and best practices of things. And probably the thing it's going to tell us mostly here, well, there's one. Display string should not contain underscores. So with that override we created, we have a poor name there. But the other one I wanted to point out here is that it's telling us here that we don't have knowledge for some of these monitors. So we can quickly switch back here. We could go to monitors. We could choose that. We can click display knowledge. We could add the knowledge we want, then come back and look at what else needs to be done here. So the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this management pack. I'm going to hand it over to Harold. So it tells me it has to save it, which is fine. Now it's going to ask me for information about sealing it. Now I'm just using the default stuff that we ship with all copies of MP Author, MP Author Professional, MP Studio. This key file that's been pointed to is available to absolutely everybody. So you would not want to use that in production because someone could impersonate you if they needed to. But for a demonstration, it's going to be fine. I'm going to click this in. It's going to create a new version in the store database here. And what we'll see here is under MP Author, which is the name here, we have this Silex V9 demo, and that's the one we just created. And you'll note that we had version 3 that we're editing here as unsealed, and now we have it sealed. And we have this cute little icon here with a little lock there. Now that that's sealed, Harold can actually show you what else we can do with this. So I think we'll turn this over to Harold.
If you want to pass it over to me, Mike, that would be great.
Oh, that's great. How? Is that from the sharing part here?
Go into the attendee stuff and then right-click on my name and give me presenter. You know what? I'm going to take presenter. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So thanks, Mike, for that. Let me just make sure my screen is being shared. I believe it is. You should see my MP Studio screen. Mike, can you verify, please?
I can verify. We can see it. I'll handle the questions while you're talking.
Okay. If you want to mute yourself, that would be great. So the basic scenario that Mike has taken us through is showing us the authoring phase of the management pack lifecycle. So Mike created a management pack for actually one of our other products, which is the portal, reporting portal for SCOM, which is a multi-tiered application. And because we're sharing the same store database, I, as the SCOM operator, can look at the work that he's done. So if I open up my sealed folder, my MP Author subfolder, I can see the management pack that Mike has been working on. And you know, perhaps Mike sent me an email, or perhaps there's a ticket through ServiceNow that indicated that this management pack is now ready for deployment within our environment. So what I'm going to do as the operator is I'm first of all going to take a look at that management pack, and I'm going to do some analysis before we deploy it. To start with, perhaps I want to look at the reference tree. Perhaps I want to understand the relationship that that management pack has with other management packs within my environment. So here I can see the relationship that it has with the other MPs. And in fact, this is a very interactive chart where I can view relationships between MPs. The next thing, and perhaps more important thing that I want to do, is I want to take a look at this management pack. I want to get an understanding of what it's going to discover, what it's going to monitor, what data it's going to collect. And so by right-clicking and selecting View, I'm able to look through each of the components, and we saw much of this with Mike's session. I'm able to look at the discovery rule that he's created. I'm able to look at any monitors that exist within this particular management pack. And something that I would like to point out is as I'm looking through information in this MP, you'll notice that we've added a couple of columns to the information that's being presented. So in this case, and let me just open up my screen a little bit more, I see two columns here, one of them called type ID and the other called meaning. And what that is metadata that we're adding to MP elements to hopefully give you a little bit better context or a better understanding of exactly what those particular elements do. In the case of this highlighted item, I can see it's a 3-state monitor, and I see some information about the thresholds and the data collection frequency, which is great. Similarly, looking through rules, I can see information about any rules that exist within that MP, including that metadata that we've added. So this is obviously a very small MP. There's not really a whole lot to analyze. If we were, for example, analyzing a new Microsoft management pack, in this case, I've just opened up the Windows Server monitoring management pack where we have many hundreds of objects potentially, looking through this can be quite onerous. And so what we've done is we've added the ability to do a bunch of things with the information that we're seeing here. So first of all, we can do a slice and dice. So perhaps as I'm doing an analysis of a management pack prior to deployment, I can learn what rules, in this case, what monitors have been enabled or disabled. I can learn about the targeting. So I can see from a from a targeting point of view of all the enabled monitors. What are they targeting and what are they going to do? So I can look through and I can see, for example, for the processor, exactly what types of things are going to be monitored on the processor side. This capability allows you to, again, get a better understanding and appreciation of what the management pack is going to do. If you need to share this with others within your organization, we have this export capability, so I can create an Excel workbook and send that around. And I'll be showing you in a couple of minutes how I can also surface that information up through an HTML reporting portal. So going back to the MP that Mike was working on. So now that I've done some analysis and review of that management pack, the next thing that I want to do prior to deploying it is run another capability we have within MP Studio, which is testing. And testing basically takes all the information within that management pack and builds up the necessary discovery and health models to emulate the implementation of that management pack. So here I can specify a range of systems where I want to run this management pack up against. It's going to use that set of systems to discover instances of what it is the management pack discovers, and then collect data for the rules and monitors and other elements that are defined within that management pack. And what this does, it gives me a really good understanding of what data that MP is going to collect, potentially what alerts that management pack is going to collect, without having to deploy that within any SCOM environment. I can run this in a completely disconnected manner. And because it takes a few minutes for that process to kick off, what I'm going to do is just go to an existing test that I ran yesterday. So we saved the test results for future reference. And this is another instance of that portal management pack that Mike built. And here I can see that it actually raised an alert during this test run. And this could be an alert that perhaps isn't really relevant to me, or perhaps I need to make an adjustment to that threshold. Right from this test results screen, I can click on overrides and I can generate an override that perhaps disables this monitor or perhaps makes a change to the threshold being used for this particular monitor or element that we're looking at. And so this allows me to do an even better job of tuning this management pack before deploying in SCOM, because consistently what we hear from our customers is that SCOM is noisy. Management packs are noisy, and we're trying to give you the ability to do some really good tuning up front before you deploy that out to your particular environment. Okay, so I've looked at the management pack. There is something I want to override. So perhaps I'm seeing something here that isn't quite right within our environment. I'm a little worried this might generate a lot of noise. So I'm going to go back to that V9 demo management pack Mike built. I'm going to click on Manage Overrides, and I'm going to override. I'm actually going to disable this particular monitor. So let's go ahead and override that. I'm going to say that's false. It automatically provides me with a destination management pack. So actually I'm going to choose a new management pack. So let's use that V9 Demos Overrides management pack that's going to create in the store. I'm going to create it in my development folder. And so we're going to go ahead and create that particular override. So now that I've done some tuning of my management pack, I'm ready to deploy it within our environment. Okay, so let's go ahead and just close that out. So if I go into my development folder, I should see that V9 Demos Override Management Pack that we just created. It's tuned, I've done all the analysis, I've shared that with other stakeholders, they've given me the green light. So now I'm going to go ahead and deploy that particular management pack. Now I only have the one management group registered within my MP Studio console. If I had multiple management groups, I could deploy the same management pack to multiple management groups all at the same time. Now we're having some connectivity problems to my SCOM environment, which is unusual. Let's just try that one more time. Looks like it might be having a little better time deploying that MP now to my SCOM environment. And that operation, as you can see, can take a minute or two to complete. We will get confirmation once that MP has been successfully deployed within SCOM. If I flip over to my SCOM console, and I'm hoping that that SCOM is in a decent state, I'm I will see that management pack show up. So if I go over and look at the installed MPs within the environment, and perhaps what I'll do is I'll just use the MP that we had developed previously for the portal. I can see that that MP is deployed within my in my environment. So this is the SCOM portal MP that we worked on previously. And it looks like there's that new V9 overrides MP that we just deployed using MP Studio. So I can see that is installed within my SCOM environment. Here's my message. And as well through the MP Studio console. So if I just collapse some of these areas, if we scroll down, we should see that that same management pack appear here in my console. I can see, I have the same operations, the same capabilities when working with installed management packs as I do with working with MPs that are under development, including the ability to report on them, to analyze them, use that slice and dice capability to customize reports, to be able to create overrides for them as well. So now that I've added a new management pack, I'm just going to quickly come up to the root of my management server, and I'm going to do a backup. And we're going to get back to this in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to back up all the unsealed management packs from this management group into my store database. Now, while that backup is running, I can show you a couple of other things. So let's go back down to that installed management pack and select, oops, just reset my screen. Let's go back to select V9 overrides demo. Let's view that particular management pack. Okay, it's just telling me some of the MPs weren't in the store, but that's okay. That's part of that backup operation. And I can look at, for example, look at a sealed MP. Let's switch back to this portal for SCOM, sealed MP. I can look at monitors, and I can create overrides for these objects. So if I have a management pack running in my environment, if it's creating a lot of noise, if I need to do some override management, I can do that right within the MP Studio console. And in fact, I can do it across multiple elements within an MP. So this allows me to, for example, very quickly disable a whole bunch of overrides or make changes to any common elements that's found within the highlighted, in this case, the highlighted monitors. Now, one of the other really great things about MP Studio, let me just find that particular pane as I already had this running, is I can do that across the entire management group as well. So if I come back up to the root of my management server, I'm right click, I can view selected MPs, and this allows me to open up one or more MPs within my environment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select all unsealed management packs. I want to take a look at a single report that shows me all the unsealed management packs that are running within my environment. And this is, for example, a very common type of thing you would do if you wanted to clean up overrides. And that's another really, really common scenario that we talk about with our customers, is giving them the ability to very quickly and efficiently find the overrides that are running within their environment. And then if they want to clean up those overrides, if they want to organize them a little bit differently, we give them the ability to do exactly that. So here I'm looking at a report showing me all the unsealed MPs in my management group. I clicked on overrides, so this is showing me all the overrides that exist that are defined in those unsealed management packs. A lot of information here, but again, I'm going to group this information so I can understand what MPs are holding those overrides. And for example, I've got a couple here in my default management pack, probably not a good place for them. What I would likely want to do in terms of cleanup is take those overrides and actually move them over to the more appropriate management pack. And so MP Studio gives us the ability to very efficiently clean up the overrides that are running within my environment and move them in a single operation, in this case, over to the appropriate management pack. So that override management is a great feature available through MP Studio. And let's go back now. I did a backup earlier, and if I go back to my store backups folder, just wanted to show you how I can see the backed up management packs. And again, we're only able to back up unsealed management packs from a management group. Microsoft, unfortunately, doesn't give us any ability to look at the sealed MPs, but I have a different folder with all those sealed MPs. But by doing the backup, what we're doing is we're also creating an audit history report. So I can, for example, view all the changes made to unsealed MPs on my management group because of this backup, because of this version control capability that's inherent to our store database. And so there's a backup report showing me the history of those changes. We've also introduced a new change report. So if I come and right click on my management group and say management group changes and view any changes, this is going to produce a report showing me a list of things that have changed since the last time I ran this report. So here it's showing me a number of management packs have changed. I can see over here on the right hand side of the screen some versions that have changed from those management packs. I can see this highlighted row here at the bottom. I can see that new MP Studio V9 overrides management pack has been added to my environment. And so now we're giving you this report together with viewing the change history of MPs made on the server. We can give you a very, very good picture of all the changes that are happening within your SCOM environment. Now, maybe once this MP is running and perhaps I've got maybe an application owner asking me about exactly what is being monitored on their systems or how that application is being monitored. We also have the ability to create reports on workflows that are running on agents. And I think I've got this already because it can take a couple of minutes to generate that particular report. But here is the report showing me the detailed MP workflows that are running on agents within my environment. And again, a lot of information here. So let's first of all start by grouping this information, and let's group it based on the name of the agent. So here I've only got 4 systems. But as I open up any one of these systems, I can see a list of all the things that are running on that particular system. And as I scroll down, I can see these highlighted rows in blue are showing me overrides. So these are effective overrides running on agents within my environment. Furthermore, if I want to be able to specifically look at what's being managed on an MP by MP basis, I'm able to do that here as well. And so again, for that application owner who might be interested in that Select portal and what's being monitored, I can show, in this particular case, it's only a discovery that's running on that system, but I have the ability to very quickly and easily share information about things that are being monitored on systems within the environment. Now, we also have another great way of sharing that information, and that's through our new SCOM reporting portal. So if I just bring that up, and this is a product that is still under development here at Select. We'll be releasing this soon, but this gives us an HTML5 reporting experience into some of the information that we maintain within MP Studio. For example, I can look at installed MPs in my environment, and I can view details about installed MPs that are running within my environment. I can look at, if I just go to my next tab, I can look at changes. So here we're exposing information about that change history, that audit history of MPs within my environment. And I can drill down and look at a detailed set of information about things that have changed to management packs within my environment. This is role-based access, so we do respect the roles that are defined within SCOM so that users would only see what they're going to be allowed to see. In this case, this is the agent workflow report. You saw that I was showing that earlier within the MP Studio console. The same information is available through the portal. So again, that scenario where you need to share effective monitoring configurations with stakeholders or application owners, the portal and MP Studio make that a very easy request to handle within your environment. And then the last tab within the portal is showing alerts and showing noisy management packs. So here what we're doing is we're starting to bring in alert information into the portal to allow you to see some of the MPs that are creating the most alerts within your environment. Okay, so I'm going to pop back to the MP Studio console. It's possible that as we've run this management pack, although I've created some overrides, there might be some updates from the vendor. So perhaps in this case, Mike created some updates for that particular management pack that he was working on. If I go into the sealed folder, I'm not sure if we have time to actually run through this completely, but sure enough, here are some changes that have been that Mike's made to that sealed management pack. If I want to get a better understanding of what's changed, again, I can access that audit history to see exactly what Mike has done. I can see, based on that time added, a list of things that he has added, changed, or removed. And if I wanted to now deploy that management pack, I can right-click on I can right click the unsealed management pack as I did earlier and deploy that. But one of the other things I did want to show you was this compare capability. The compare management group effectively takes all the MPs that are installed within a management group, it compares them to the MPs that are found in the store database and shows me the differences. So let's just do a group based on this result. So here it's showing me a list of all the MPs that are installed that are the same as the MPs that exist within the store database. As I scroll down here, I can see there are a couple of MPs that are installed that are newer than what I have in my store database. And there are quite a few MPs that are newer in my store database. So I've got a bunch of updates in my store database, and I should be able to, let me just sort based on name, I should be able to see that new Select V9 demo database. You can see that it's not deployed. So here I can, right from within this dialog, I can see that there's a newer version of this particular management pack available. I can deploy it directly to my management server using this compare capability. So this is yet another capability that allows you to make sure that your store database, which we highly recommend as being your sort of single source of truth for everything to do with management packs, to make sure that things are in sync within your environment. And in fact, this compare report, we can expand this to compare across multiple management groups as well. So if you have a lab environment, for example, we can use that compare capability to make sure your lab and your production environments are completely in sync. Okay, so I'm just looking at the time. We've pretty much come to the end of our hour.